So this is the image we're starting with, just a really simple composition. Really, just really simple, because I don't want to get too fancy. It's just about the components. So that's the first thing there, stamped out. I've got some colours. I'm going to start with the leaves first of all. Do the leaves first of all. From the foliage set, we're going to use green gold. Love this green. Really nice, warm, gorgeous green. I'm going to use a tip of brown, and I'm going to use from the neutral set antique white. So let's put those out now and then get cracking. So as usual, just take your brush. We're going to take some paint out, dab it onto your worksheet. I'll move those so that you can see, and my producer will and director will, all in one by the way, and Gopher will give me a shout if I get that wrong, I am sure. And so there's the antique white, green gold, gorgeous colour. Probably put too much out again because I've just remembered I'm only going to paint 3 leaves. And a little bit of brown. Now you may have heard me say this before, but it is really important when you're putting your paints out, don't spread them out all over your worksheet. Keep them in as compact little puddles as you can. You spread them out more, you waste your paint because it's a larger surface area and it's going to dry quicker. Okay, so and once it's dry you can't use it. So wet the brush, get it into shape, nice, ready to play. I'm going to pick up, scoop, and I'm going to scoop. So there's my 2 colours on the brush, hopefully you've got that. And then I'm going to smoosh. And then I'm going to scoop and scoop again and smoosh. I'm thinking, you know, it's not a massive leaf, but spend a little bit more time pushing the paint in this one rather than reloading. Because it is, I'm just painting onto Nina pick card, which is a lovely surface to practice your painting onto. Nice and smooth, nice to paint onto, just a heads up before you go on to painting the whole house. So that's probably good enough there. Maybe one more, because I'm just thinking that's pretty big, that leaf. Alright, now, and then finally, I'm going to tip it with a little bit of brown. Alright, got that? So let's do the big leaf first. Now, maybe in right-handed, I always paint the left-hand side of the leaf facing downwards, towards me, to the point coming towards me, it's pointing to me, and the right-hand side pointing from left to right, because then I'm never in my own way. So let's do the left-hand side pointing towards me first. So get the brush, give it a little wiggle and line it up with the veins I've already drawn in that leaf, and then just start to wiggle back and forwards. And do not, even for 1 minute, I'm telling you now, don't do it, you won't thank me for it, think that you've got to try and cover every one of those veins and just keep it exactly the same. Just zigzag back and forwards, keep the angle sort of that. And as you can see, it wasn't very much of a turn at all, but it was a slight turn towards me and lift up for the point of the leaf. And you can extend it if you want to make that bigger. You can. The stamp is there as a guide for Paint Fusion. It's a nice leaf you can use with your other projects. You can use it with. I bet this would look great with things like fibre and film as well, because it's a nice big open size. So if you want to get funky with any of that stuff, which I'm kind of thinking I might just well be doing that shortly. But I've already said too much. So can I say just back and forwards, just zigzag, just keep going, and then when you get to the end, just lift up. And then you've got a really easy, I didn't do anything in my own way. It was completely, no acrobatics, no stunts, didn't have to stand on my head, didn't have to dislocate any joints. That's always a good thing. Now, can you see this little build up in the middle? If you get a little excess where maybe, one side of the brush has just had a little bit too much paint on, that is not the end of the world, and it's Paint Fusion, there's always a way around it anyway. So just take that off there, and then you can finish off by just a little bit of the brown, soften it with a bit of the green so it's not as strong, and you can just come in and just, this is still a little bit wet, but just come in with your small brush, and you don't want to do too much, really. Don't labour the point here, just do a tiny little touch. Tiny little touch is better. Now, the same for the small leaf. I'm going to do this really quickly, and then I'm going to leave you for a minute while I finish the leaves off, and then we'll come back and we'll look at the rose. But until then, let's just speed paint the small leaf. Let's do that one first. So it's the same thing, just light pressure. I'm hardly pressing down at all. And if I want to make them slightly different shapes, I've elongated that one. I'm making that one a bit bigger. What a rebel. The more you do of this, it's like everything. The more your confidence builds, the easier it's going to seem. You're just going to, and you'll realise that the stamps are a tool, that they're mostly for guidance, not to be adhered to rigidly. So can you see how I've extended that? And then I'm going to paint this and we'll come back, see you in a minute, and we'll do the rose. As you can see, the rose is made up in 3 parts, the largest being the thing that actually looks like a flower. And the way we're going to paint is we're going to use the 1/2 inch flat brush, and it's just going to be kind of seashell shapes for each leaf. If you've painted the sweet pea before, you're going to be onto a really good starter here, because that's basically it. Alright, so I've picked up colours I'm using here. I wanted something that you could see really clearly on the video, so I'm going for really bold colours, very old-fashioned tea rose style. I'm using Garnet from set 1, I believe, Simply Sweet, and I'm using Naples Yellow, which is the very soft yellow, the really pretty gentle yellow from set 3 or the Sunflower set. And I'm just working the colours in here. Now I'm going to use the dark in the centre and the lighter on the outside. You can switch it around, you'll get different effects if you do that. Starting off with just this larger petal here at the top. So I'm just going to put the brush down, give it a little wiggle, and then just start and just paint a pretty little ruffly shape. Oh, I'm liking the colour. Very pretty. Looks a bit like Juicy Fruit Sweets as well, but I've said too much. It kind of spoils the culture thing a little bit, doesn't it? You can see what's going on in my head. Not so much tea rose, but dodgy little sweets I had in mix-ups when I was a kid. Okay, there's another one. So can you see, just move what you're painting around. Keep the colours nice and fresh. Keep them blended in on the mat. That's really important. So just keep going. And look, you always want to paint outside of the stamped line. You don't want that ink to show. So continuing around. So again, brush down, give it a little wiggle, and then just little ruffles, nice and gently pull back in. And you'll notice we're going to have a gap in the middle where it hasn't filled in. But because it's Paint Fusion, are we going to stress over it? Not likely. Because I'll show you what we do there before we do the next layer. So this is the bit where if you didn't have a stamp, whoop, see that leaf didn't like it. I did that for your benefit. Kind of lost concentration. I'm going to go over that again. If you didn't have a stamp for this, you really got to position these brush strokes by eye. And it seriously is not as easy as you may think. Been there, done that. So can you see we've got the base done. The centre now, I'm going to use that dark side of the paintbrush, this one here, because that's the colour that was in the centre. And I'm just going to go ahead and just blank that in. Just like that, just nice and stipply kind of, you know. Don't go into your leaves, you still want those really pretty, but you're just going to blank that centre bit in. And then, you see, I think that looks pretty already. That would make a great flower if you use a stipple brush in the centre with some stronger yellow. You could stipple the centre, put stamens in, and it could be a little, like a different wild rose. You know, just many flowers, to be honest. More than my simple brain knows, but that's up to you. We'll try that. So just a quick dry with your heat tool. I'm liking this heat tool, I have to say, just a heads up. I like it because it's dry, it covers a larger surface area. For Paint Fusion, it's kind of my heat tool of choice, to be honest. I still like my directional one for ordinary embossing, but this is my one I use for my crackle. And so that's that dry. So the next thing I want to do is come to this one here. It looks like it's kind of, you can say, suggest 3 petals. 1, 2, 3. Alright, so we're building up towards the centre of the rose. Now you want this large one to correspond with the large petal at the top of your rose. If you had it at an angle, then you would just chase that angle as well. But you see it's going to reflect that petal shape. So I'm just going to ink that up. Now I'm hoping you can see enough of the grey area, but if you can't, just believe I can. But you'll see how it's painted. And just centre it, okay? We'll pop that there. Now if I hold that up, you might be able to see that in the centre, okay? Right, now, so what we're going to do is just use the same colours. That started to dry on my worksheet, so I'm just going to wipe that up. You can see it dries and goes kind of crusty, plasticky. So if you try to pick that up and it mixes in with your good paint, you'll not get a nice finish, so just get rid of it. These lights I'm using are really, really powerful, really, really warm lights. So everything just dries super fast under these. Got nothing to do with the hot air I'm generating. Alright, so blend that in. Now this is really important when you get into the centre of the rose, that light edge stays really clear. So always just tip it finely with a little bit more of that light edge, because what you're going to do there is I'm going to come in and I'm going to ruffle a petal in the centre. And you really need that definition between the light and the dark for you to be able to see that properly. So there's that one. Turn it around and then just ruffle one in the centre there. Can you see it's just a wider brush stroke? And then around again, and then we'll just ruffle another one there. So you can see how you've got the centre looking. Now that was a little bit water there and it looks a bit washed out. So again, like I said the first time, if you don't like it and you think you could improve on it, let's just something on the brush. It looks messy. So if it's looking messy, clean your brush and start again. Start on a clean piece of your craft mat as well. Don't try and make the better of something that isn't. If it's not very well defined, you need to get back, clean what you're using, and come back in. Now that's much better. There's the centre painted, and there's just one other layer, which is this tiny little strange looking bit in the middle. Very, very strange, but I'll explain what's going on. Basically, this little cup shaped thing at the top is going to represent the petal that's wrapping round the one of the petals in the centre. Hopefully it'll make sense any minute now. So let's pink that up, and then you're going to position it again so that it looks like you're going to capture it's going to wrap around the centre. Now I'm trying to do this back, like kind of further out than I normally do, and if it's not perfectly centred, we can compensate for that. But that's the kind of thing you're going to do there. Now let's get back to take some more colour out. Right, so I've got the same brush and I'm going to pick up again the two colours, in this case Naples Yellow and Garnet, and I'm just going to smush the colours in again. And it really is very important that these colours stay nice and clean. I need the red on one side and the yellow on the other, and then a blend in the middle. So I'm just taking my time getting this really just the way I want it. Right, now this brush stroke is going to be the opposite. You know, we did a kind of a convex arc. Oh, listen to me. I sound like a maths teacher. Kind of a scoop like that. And this time we're going to do a concave scoop. So we're forming kind of like a cup in the middle. So what you do is you just do that and ruffle, and then pick up to that side there. So it looks like you've got the centre of the rose represented. Then let's do this. Now the other thing, if you notice, there's little kind of petals around like this in the centre. So there's one. Can you see how the angle of the brush is just, I'm moving it around, and I'm just going to flick in like this, and then you can even just flick in like that, and then it looks like you've got a really pretty centre of the rose. This little bit here looks a little bit messy, I'm not gonna lie to you. If you're not happy with it, you can just go over again. Let's just tidy that up. So we've got that there. And I have to say, when I did this, the way I made the stamp is I had to actually paint the rose the way I've painted it for years, which was freehand, and then draw the stamp to fit it. Now that's a little bit, but I'm happier with that. And then when that dries, that yellow is going to, hopefully in the centre, it's going to blend in with the rest of the rose, and we're good to go. Give it a quick blast. And there you have it.